I always wanted to do video games, and music was always part of my life, so I decided at a young age to do music for games. I'm Olivier de Rivière, and I'm the main composer on Streets of Rage 4. There is a big story behind me being involved into Streets of Rage 4, because an hour before meeting for the first time with Cyril, I was discussing with a friend of mine, and we were discussing Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack, and we were like, it's been such a long time we haven't had a Streets of Rage game, you know, and it was like a sort of a good conversation. And then I meet Cyril, and Cyril is like, oh, you know, Olivier de Rivière, I'd like you to work with me, maybe, you know, let's introduce you with my next game. And I was like, okay, what's your next game? And then he tells me it's Streets of Rage 4. And I start laughing, because I think that's a good joke, guys, but, you know, I know where it comes from. And he showed me the trailer, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the fact that, number one, I had just discussed this, you know, with a friend of mine like a few minutes ago, and then this very game is happening. And then he was asking me to do the score. I was like, ooh, I don't know, you know?
Basically, we knew that the music in Streets of Rage series was something super important. So that has been a central subject for us since the beginning, basically. We've been starting to think about it with the whole team very early in the process, and we had many different ideas, but the fans and people in general will be expecting something quite unique. And we wanted as well to do something innovative, but at the same time that would be up to the legacy of the series. We wanted to get together the original spirit of the series with the sound of Yuzo Koshiro, Motohiro Kawashima, but as well something more modern, something that would sound like a game from 2019. Our guess on that was that we had to gather different artists on the game, the original artists, of course, artists with influence from Japanese games from the 80s, 90s, but as well as more modern artists from the West. And we thought it was a cool idea. And so we started to kind of think about different artists that are maybe younger artists, less famous artists, but that are not actually video game composers, but artists that do music for nowadays, basically. We started to work with artists like Grounded Lava, XL Middleton. But we also, in the end, choose to work with artists that are working in the video game industry, but have a very special touch. Like, for example, Scattle, which is a great artist that worked on Hotline Miami. So the idea was to say, okay, we need kind of an artist that would do most of the OST, but in a very special way and very modern way, but in the same spirit as it was in the previous series. And that's when basically we started to think about Olivier de Rivière. Looking at his work, looking at everything he did in his different works in the past, we're like, okay, that's something that really gets the perfect fusion between gameplay and music. And Streets of Rage is all about the fusion between gameplay and music. Playing Streets of Rage is like listening to an album, but like it would be kind of an interactive album.
The first feeling was, Koshiro. That was the first feeling, and always. He has always been, you know, attached with this project from my own start to the very end of the project. So that was the first thought. The only thing that I told myself was, I don't want to go with his style. That's the first thing, because he's unique, and to go trying to mimic what he's done would be, I guess, something that would feel wrong to everybody, myself included. So it was not to be disrespectful, but also to let him, you know, have his own take, because he's part of the project. And that's what's really amazing for me, is like he injects the flavor of Streets of Rage, and I take it from there, and I, as the game is doing, you know, modernize the take, you know, on my own. But he's still around, for sure.
皆さんご存知のようにベアナックルっていうのは昔はメガドライブで、FM 音源っていうチップで鳴らしていた音楽なんですけど、それが4では全く新しい普通の音楽になってしまうんですよね。チップチューンではないということで、だからすごくどういう方向性の音楽にするかっていうのもすごく悩みましたね。はい、今まではね私と川島さんでやってたわけですけど、そこに新しいベアナックルのテイストが入ってくる、ベアナックル音楽のテイストが入ってくるっていうのは非常に個人的にはものすごい楽しみに。ベアナックルって80年後半から90年前半にかけてのクラブミュージックっていうのはすごく影響されてるんですよね。その影響を私が強く受けて作っているので、当時の制作方法に一旦帰って、でそこから作り直すというかですね、今はすごくコンピューターが便利になってコンピューター上で何でもかんでもできるんですけど、そうではなくて昔使っていたシンセサイザーとか昔使っていたリズムマシンとかそういうのをもう一回使ってちゃんと音を録音してで丁寧に作っていくっていうそういうやり方をしたいなと思ってそれをやりましたね。ベアナックル4を作る時に、昔影響を受けた音楽というのを今 Spotify とかね YouTube で聴けるので、それを何度も聴いて思い出してで当時の気持ちをこう呼び起こしてというか思い出してそれで作っていきました。はい、
The first question we had to find out, answer for was, okay, how do we, how do we structure the music, like from my music to their music and how? And very quickly it came that I will do the levels and they will do the boss. Like every boss will have its specific music done by a guest. As a player, we all know that when you get to a boss, it's very special. Then it's going to be even more special because now you have this, guest music that is completely out of the scope because everybody was free, depending on their own style, genre that they wanted to do. To make a good impression on gamers with music, you need to talk a lot with the game designer. So with Jordi, we're spending a lot of time talking about what are his intentions, such as, okay, this part is okay, introduction, you fight a little bit, then this part is very difficult, then this one is not so difficult. And basically, hearing him doing such structure, it helps me out into making the music following his intentions and making the music more consistent with the player experience. Well, the whole soundtrack for the levels is following the story of the game for sure. And without telling anything, you start in the streets and it's very dirty and it's very Streets of Rage. And the idea was at some point to be, okay, as it is a progression, let's just think of it as if it was a DG set. So let's start with something that is more like, let's say, downbeat, something that is a little slow, and then the more you progress in the game, the more you will feel the urge and the sense of, let's say, adrenaline. Like you would enter a level that I won't describe the level itself, but with the music. So you would have like the intro, so very dubstep. So there is this feeling, and now you have first exposure of the melody. And then, depending, you're moving on, so to the next section, so the music will go like that. So no more melodies, but you have this very feeling of dubstep. For people that want to know, there is like storm, waves, so that's why the music is so like, it's to illustrate the visuals right now. And then something happens, and then you have the melody back. So that's the same melody as the beginning, and then you move on to the next section, and it will become a little more difficult. Soon enough, like here. Now the game is becoming more intense, the gameplay, so music has to go like this. A little Streets of Rage flavor. And we go. And then after this section, we're going elsewhere, and so the music will follow up with the melody again. And you finish the level. So it's a very condensed version. Of course, the music is much longer with a lot of variations, but here you have like the structures.
Working on a game like Streets of Rage 4 is very special for me and for all the team. I remember playing the first one on the Game Gear at the back seat of my parents' car. And basically last summer, I was in a car with Yuzo Koshiro and Motohiro Kawashima, and it just felt amazing. It's just, I think, something that you don't have lots of time in your life, so we really want to make the best out of it, and we're super excited to show it to everyone.
Working on Streets of Rage 4 is scary as hell. I'm very scared. I was scared. I'm still scared. I don't know. It's something that I have never done, and on every aspect. And it's a big honor. I feel like, I hope I gave the best that I could. I mean, this is what I did, and I hope that players will enjoy it. But I don't know. I mean, it's very difficult to come after such legendary composers, and I'm very grateful to be part of the project.